thing I would like to make mention of was we went to Jeffersonville, Indiana, and we was up there on Greens Mill Road. So me and Brother George went up on the side of the mountain. He said, let's go around this way. I said, okay. So we climbed the mountain, and so we was walking around this way on the side of a mountain. So he said, let's go. We went straight ahead, and there was a story about a cave that William Branham visited, and it had a pyramid rock in it, and it had a table in it where he would go in and he would pray, and said the pyramid came down out of like the ceiling of it, everything. So, and they said there was a tree that was fell down over, kind of almost over the entranceway to it. So we was going around the side of this mountain. So we come up on this tree, and he said, let's go right here. So we went under the tree. It was fallen. It had fallen down like almost over the entrance to it. And when we went under the tree, we looked up, and there was a hole in the side of the mountain. Well, looking at it from straight on, you couldn't tell that there was a cave there. But looking at it from a side view, you could see that there was a hole there. So we went in there, and behold, there was a pyramid rock hanging down from the ceiling. And there was another rock that was in the cave, like almost like a bed or like a bench or whatever you want to call it. It was, probably 4 or 5 feet long. And that was there. The cave was a small cave. It wasn't a big cave. It was a small cave, probably 10, 12 feet long, and probably 4, 6, 7 feet wide, something like that, maybe 8 foot wide. It was a small cave. So we left there and started walking up on up the mountain, and there was a man said, "Is that you, Brother Pike?" And Brother Pike acknowledged the man, and he knew him. I didn't know him. I can't even remember what the man's name was. And he said, "What are you doing over here?" Brother Pike said, we're just walking around a little bit. So the man probably was looking for William Branham's cave too, because he was a Brother Branham follower. But anyhow, we went back to Jeffersonville. Now, a few months later, George Smith, who was married to Becky, Brother Branham's daughter, Rebecca, contacted Brother Pike, and he had heard that Brother George found Brother Branham's cave. So he was talking to Brother Pike on the phone. He said, "Well, I'll tell you what." He said, "Fact of the matter, Brother George," he said, I'll have a man contact you that was with me, Mike Bradley, and let him talk to you." So I called George Smith up, and I talked to him. He said, "So you found William Branham's cave?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "I'll tell you what I'll do." I said, "I'll come up there and I'll show you." He said, "Yeah, that sounds great." So I get in my car and I go up there. And so it was later in the afternoon, 4 or 5 o'clock. So I called George and Rebecca, and I talked to them. They said, "Well, let's go out and have dinner." And they invited me out to have dinner at 7 o'clock, something like that evening. So I went out and had dinner with them. And so he said, "I'll tell you what us do." He said, "Us go up there tomorrow, and I'll let you show me the cave." I said, "Okay." I said, "We get started 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock, whatever time it was." I said, "Okay." So I met him the next morning. So me and him, we drove out. And as we was going down Greens Mill Road, we went down there, and I said, "Did you ever go to the cave?" He said, "No, I never went to the cave, but Brother Branham said he said, the only thing, Brother Branham, I was going down with him one day, and we was driving down the road, And he said, the cave is over that way. So he pointed almost identical in the direction that where the cave that we found was. And then, so I said, oh, okay. So we went on over and we parked. So the mountain was real steep right from the river down at the bottom up to the cave. You couldn't hardly go that way. Climbing is very steep. But so I had to go in at an angle on the other end. So we get down, we park, and we start down there. So we get about halfway there, and I could tell that he didn't believe that it was the cave. And he was kind of a little bit negative. So anyhow, I just said, it's okay. So we kept walking. So we get about 15 feet from the tree that was fell down on the cave.
Surely that couldn't be the same tree from that many years ago, though, wouldn't you think? I mean, because Brother Branham said that tree was fell over it, and that would have been in the 60s, right? And then you went up there late 70s or 80s?
Well, I mean, it was not in the tree it didn't fall down yesterday. I mean, it was an old tree. So I don't know how long it had been. I don't know, 10 years, 5 years, 15 years. I don't know how long it had been.
I'm just curious.
But he said, I said, there is the cave. So he looked, and I said, there is the pyramid. And he looked.
So he went in the cave with you.
He went in the cave with me. Yeah. He said, well, that's not the cave. Mm-hmm. So I said, okay, so no problem. So we go back, we get in the car, and we leave.
That's the same cave that Jonathan Lambert found the file in?
That's the same cave that Jonathan found a file and a walnut.
And a wallet?
A walnut.
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 Oh, okay.
Yeah, a walnut. And he found a file, an old file in it. And I think maybe a couple other things, I don't know, whatever. But anyhow, I thought it was very odd that he was instructing me that wasn't the cave, since he had never, he testified that he had never been to the cave, and that he also testified that Brother Branham pointed almost directly to where the cave was when he was driving down the road with him. But that wasn't the cave. Since he had never been to the cave, he was sure it wasn't the cave. So you say, well, was it the cave? I don't know. All I know is there was a pyramid on the top of it. All I know is there was a bed, there was a rock that was about probably.
Which is the way Brother Branham described it.
It was the way, so I don't know. You say, well, I don't believe it was a cave. Well, okay, you just be the judge, I'm just telling you what I saw.
That's still a cool story, though.
Yeah.
That's pretty interesting.
It was very interesting.